All right, today we have Donald Lee on the channel, and Donald Lee is another YouTuber. We'll be talking about that a little bit in this video today. Hopefully you enjoy this content. I told him we were going to do a little bit of a truth or dare, mostly truth, ask each other some questions, get our ideas, our philosophies, quick backstory. I came across Donald's channel literally by circumstance or happenstance probably, but I feel like I was destined to be one of his first subscribers. I mean, this guy just had a few hundred subscribers. You're up, what, about 1,600 subscribers now? Is that what I saw?
Yeah, holding on 1700, and it's like on January 5th I had 100, so it's been some crazy growth, surprisingly.
It's crazy growth. Ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, it took me probably a year to get my first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I mean, I remember putting up videos and getting nothing. But if you go check out his channel, I'll put a link in the description. You can see why he puts up a lot of great content. And in a short amount of time, the quality of his videos has gotten ridiculously better, putting up incredible content. He's staying on the cutting edge of everything related to cryptocurrency. So if you want to know what's going on, his channel is a hidden gem. People always say, from my subscribers in my course, my emails, people always ask this question: well, how do you find out about stuff? Find people who are in the know and you associate with what they're doing. I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to know what's going on in the crypto space, you want to know what's the latest, some of the latest news, what's happening behind the scenes, someone who's doing research on the ground, you got to go check out Donald's channel. He's doing a phenomenal job, and he's a hidden gem because right now you're going to get there first. You know how it is getting on the ground floor. You're going to get there first because not many people know about him or his channel. All right, Donald. So let's get started, man. Let's just take turns. And if it's okay, I want to go first and ask my first question.
Yeah, go for it.
How did you get started in cryptocurrency?
Yeah, appreciate it. First of all, let me say I'm humbled to join you on this interview. And actually, please be sure, guys, to smash the like and subscribe button, because I love saying that to Crypto Wealth's channel, because he has a lot of great content up there. For me, I learned a lot from him. I'm like, dude, how do you even do this? And he teaches me a lot. But how did I get started in crypto? So I didn't actually get started a long time ago. I actually got started last year around the time when Bitcoin fell to like 3K, 5K. And a friend of mine is actually an Instagram influencer, and he kept on talking about it. He kept on talking about day in, day out, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I kept on watching his stories, and sooner or later, I'm like, okay, I got to take a look into this. What is this Bitcoin thing? I took a look into it, and then I took a look at what the government was doing with quantitative easing and sending out stimulus checks, and I got scared. So from then on, I started meeting a lot more other crypto people. People were into Bitcoin for a long time, since 2013. So I started learning from them. I think that's the fastest way to learn, actually. It's just to find a mentor, because I found my mentors relatively quickly. They've been in the game for a long time and they were making money. So I was able to fast track my learning and get into the ground floor of what we're doing now. So that's pretty much how it all started.
You know, it's interesting that you talk about quantitative easing. I cannot believe how many people are watching. I was just talking to my brother last night, and the administration is talking about putting a $3 trillion jobs bill through, and most people aren't. I mean, we're talking about $3 trillion proposals in our government now, multi-trillion-dollar proposals.
Wait, a $3 trillion after our 1.9 trillion?
Yeah, a $3 trillion jobs bill, free community college. See, here's the problem. Most people, they just hear what they're getting and they don't understand at what cost this is. Free community college for everyone, just a whole list of things. $3 trillion. $3 trillion.
Yeah.
And people don't understand. My brother said that his accountant's a high net worth individual. I mean, a high income earner, but he's not a very high net worth individual. And he told him, he said, listen, he said, my brother's done well for himself in business and whatnot, and he's very sound-minded when it comes to finances. And he said, I got to ask you, what do you think this looks like? And what he said, what he told me, he told his accountant, I thought, that's good. He said, everybody's going to want it, nobody's going to feel it, and nobody cares. Prices are going up. They already have gone up, and nobody cares right now because they have money because of stimulus checks for the most part. He goes, but what's going to happen is when it turns, it's going to be painful. And it's not going to take a big turn. It's just going to take a small adjustment in interest rates, and it's going to be really painful, and people aren't going to know how to get out of it, and there's going to be no good answers from the government. And he's like, and that's going to happen probably within the next 5 to 10 years. And I feel like what's crazy is I don't think people see that. Like, they don't know,
Yeah, that's the serious part. I think it's because specifically, it's because you and I live in the United States, right? So every country in the world owns US dollar. So that's the situation. Where I'm originally from, I'm from Canada. So what's happening over there is we're doing quantitative easing in Canada as well. But the inflation has gone crazy to the point where my parents are saying that food prices, food inflation is a real thing. A pound of butter has gone up to $7. That's a pound of butter. So that's what other countries are facing right now. And that's because they're not the reserve currency. We have reserve currency over here in the US, which is why I think we can print so much. But I want to get your opinion on that. What do you think about the current state of the financial policies that we are seeing now being implemented in the US?
So what you just said there, it is exactly because it's the reserve currency. So, and this is part of how I got started in crypto as well. By the way, I had someone share that I actually went to a business conference. A guy got in front of the room who's kind of a guest speaker, and he sounded like he had lost his mind talking about the financial system and what was going on. And the thing that he kept saying was that the federal dollar, the U.S. dollar is the global reserve currency or the world reserve currency, and I didn't understand, like I could not comprehend what that meant. And I came home and he recommended a video, and I mention it all the time on my channel. I even have it hosted on my channel called Money as Debt. Money as Debt. And I'll put it in the description as well of this video. But nobody ever watches it. And every middle schooler on the planet should probably watch it. That's easy to understand. It talks about the global banking system and how it was set up with good intentions, but where we can get into trouble. That's sort of what's happening right now. So with when the dollar's the global reserve currency, Americans don't notice it. And it's unfortunate because as a population, we are a very influential population on the world, in the world. But when Americans don't pay attention, they're not politically involved, they're not politically aware, they don't know what's happening. It's a recipe for disaster. And we got a situation right now. See, I think that that's where the centralized currencies are going to come along already, because China's one of our largest holders of our debt. They know it's a problem. They've got to get away from it. They're trying to actively figure out the least painful way to break away from the dollar. And they're doing a pretty good job of it, actually. The challenge with them breaking away from the dollar, outside of the fact of the mechanics of it, is it's going to wreak havoc on their economy, not only because they've gotten away from having someone else have the reserve currency so they can manipulate their own currency to underpay their own people. And that's gonna create an issue if their currency or some version of their currency ends up being a reserve currency. It's going to create an entire different shift on their side, in their own economy. So we're getting deep in the weeds on this, but my thoughts are I think that we're going to get away from a single country reserve currency soon. And I think the way that we go to decentralized cryptocurrency mass adoption is going to be one of two routes. It's going to be the people ultimately revolting, but that's only going to come from enough pain that people decide to learn and be self-educated and self-aware. And that's going to take a lot more pain than we currently are going through as a society. But the flip side of it is, I think we may see a country start adopting something like Bitcoin or pegging their currency to Bitcoin just to get the full faith of the world's population to reestablish themselves as some sort of a reserve currency. So that it's going to be very interesting. And I think what the Americans are going to try to do is they're going to try to get the central bank digital dollar, the Fed coin, and they're going to try to get that repositioned in the world. They're going to say, hey, we got our own digital currency now, and it's in a better shape than the current fiat dollar because of these mechanisms. Just peg your currencies to ours. I think that's what they're going to attempt to do. But every year it takes them, or every month that it takes them to do that, I think they're losing ground with the world governments out there.
Absolutely. I think what you said is correct. I'm going to bring it back to Bitcoin in such that I like that you mentioned China, because right now what I see is that the US, we are resting on our laurels in terms of China and Russia are catching up, and they're making moves right now. They're offloading US dollar and they're buying back gold again. And specifically for China, they have a big hold in Africa right now. So if you haven't read the news, actually, Charles Hoskinson, who is the founder of Cardano, he's actually making big bets with Africa on ADA because he sees potential there. So there is kind of like an idea there. But tying this back to Bitcoin, it's because we see the US printing a lot of money. Even if they start up with a new digital currency, we're still going to see that this is controlled by the Fed. So it can be inflated and deflated however they want to mess with the money. I think that if, or should I say when, the US dollar loses its reserve currency, the reserve currency that replaces the US dollar, what I see will be Bitcoin. It won't be the digital currency of China or digital currency of Russia, because those will be controlled by the Chinese and the Russian governments as well. So I think once people get educated about this stuff, they will all go back into Bitcoin, which can't be manipulated because it's decentralized. And that's when I see Bitcoin go to $500,000, $600,000. So that's what I'm seeing right now. So that's me sounding.
Bitcoin's going to go much higher than 500,000 at that point. But here's my take on it. I do think we ultimately get there. I don't know if it's going to be the reserve currency next. Because every government, when you watch the video Money is Debt, it becomes very obvious the importance of governments having, at the very least, local control over their currency. The main reason the US government can put sanctions on places like Iran is because they control their currency. So the idea that a government wants to relinquish control and its ability to issue currency, that's going to only happen at the very risk of losing their own countries, literally. Like, that's like, oh crap, we need to do this or we're going to be in trouble either from our people or whatever. That's the part of me that says that may never happen. The people are going to have to do like in Venezuela, where they're like, I don't care what my legal ramifications are. These dollars coming from the government aren't any good. So therefore, I'm willing to take my chances because I want to make sure my family can buy bread next week. And so
Right.
I think that that's the part of me that says, I don't know if a government will ever fully get rid of it. If they do, I mean, ever fully embrace it. But I think if they do embrace it, it's just going to be kind of a backing. But I think what drives now, this is different. Okay. We may see $100,000, $200,000 Bitcoin happen really fast if Bitcoin becomes the new gold for countries' reserve. So if countries, in other words, start getting nervous, they're like, I wonder if we should quietly start buying up Bitcoin, and they attempt to buy it quietly, which is hard, but obviously it can be done.
Yeah.
And they, got to use all sorts of secrecy measures, but governments can do that. But if they start buying up Bitcoin, I think that's when we can see it's not going to be mass adopted. They may even make it illegal for the private small investor. I believe that's coming. I just had a futures investor not too long ago, like in the past month, told me he could not believe that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are still allowed to be purchased by non-accredited investors. He said any other commodity in the world would have already had these massive regulations, and he thinks the only reason is because it's difficult to control. But he was like, I bet you a year from now, 2 years from now, at most, you're going to have to be an accredited investor to be able to buy cryptocurrency. So I think governments will do that to prevent the people from getting a hold of it, but I think they may buy it to preserve their own value.
Right. That's a very interesting way of thinking. I hadn't thought about it that way. But yeah, let's switch topics because I think we are getting into the weeds here. So let me talk about projects, because I know you are in several projects, and I want to know what is one project or several, how many you have that you see 10x potential in that isn't as widely known right now.
Oh, a single project that sees 10x potential right now. That's interesting.
Because we want to finish our money, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. Bitcoin. No, no, you know what? See, so this is gonna
come on.
so this is gonna be unsexy. If I had to bet on what was most likely to 10x, there's a lot of things that will 10x. So understand that there's a lot of things but if you told me I had to take a sizable percentage of my net worth and my life depended on it, I had to put it somewhere. I'm not gonna take a total lottery shot, right? There's plenty of things out there you can take a lottery shot. I mean, I made 500% myself on a big portion of my portfolio in February. I made a video about that. I made 300% so far this month, right? But I would not bet my life savings on those projects. Any project can 3x, 10x. That's what's crazy about cryptocurrency. But if I was going to bet a large amount, not financial advice, I always got to say that for the people at the back. But
don't want to get wrecked.
Yeah. But if I was going to do something, this is the most conservative play that could hit 10x faster than Bitcoin. It's Ethereum. There's just no other way around it. It's Ethereum. I know Polkadot's got some hopes, and I think that's possible. Polkadot already 10x'd, and I watched them that's one that I kind of missed out on a little bit, and I'm still paying attention to. And I know people get excited about Polkadot, but that's like people getting excited about Digibyte compared to Bitcoin. And that's maybe a bad comparison, but listen, it's hard to underestimate the power of a market leader in a space. Size of the network matter. I think that when you look at the size of the network, the infrastructure, and everything that's going behind Ethereum, secretly, a lot of people still want Ethereum to succeed. Even if they're optimistic, secretly, a lot of the same people that are optimistic about Polkadot, some of those, and when I say people, I mean like some of the old developers and stuff, they secretly want to see Ethereum pull it out. I mean, that's where their heart is. That's where a lot of them, and when you look at the resources, the network capacity, the technology, the amount of development and developers, I mean, I think that Polkadot's going to have its own set of issues, by the way, but I think that it's probably going to be Ethereum. It doesn't mean that Ethereum's going to be the top dog forever. You're just asking me what's likely to 10x. It's going to be Ethereum.
I totally agree with you on that. I'm gonna say that a couple months ago, a lot of people were saying that Polkadot was an ETH killer, and I just want to fix that misconception that Polkadot is really there to complement Ethereum in bridging blockchains. And I agree with you that Ethereum is big, especially with the proposal that they had. I made a video on it, the EIP 1559, where they turned Ethereum, or they're turning Ethereum into a deflationary model so that whenever transactions are made, ETH burned. So that's pissing off a lot of ETH miners, and it looks like Vitalik is going head on into war with them, but it's funny seeing how that plays out. Connecting to that, I wanted to ask you, because I don't have much experience with Binance Smart Chain, but I've been seeing that you've been making videos on that. So what do you see with Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and ADA now that we've seen ADA just pump up to third place following Ethereum's tail? So I want to get your opinions there.
Let me just say this, and this is something that I need to, for anyone watching who's trying to invest in this space, don't make my mistake. And the longer I'm here, the more I'm doing this, because I didn't do it on Binance Chain, but I did it on ADA, and that is getting so stuck in a mindset, so loyal and emotionally invested. I have a video. One of the videos that on my channel that probably brings me the most subscribers is actually called cryptocurrency investing for beginners, and the watch time on that thing is sick. But the one of the things that I say in that video is I talk about being emotionally biased, getting committed emotionally to a project. Marrying a project. In the stock market, they say don't marry a stock. We do the same thing. So I still am behind on Cardano. Like, I can't tell you crap about that project, and it's because Cardano. A lot of people today don't remember Cardano early on. Early on, it was a whole bunch of hype and promises, and nothing happened forever that was obvious to anyone watching. I mean, occasionally new stuff come out, but there was no major developments that were making an obvious change and a difference, and nothing was happening for a while. And a lot of that was going on in cryptocurrency projects. And so I started getting jaded towards projects that I felt that way about, and I wouldn't even look at them. That's screwed me on Cardano, so I'm behind the curve on Cardano. When Binance Smart Chain came out, I was tempted to be like, no, it's just, just trying to rip off Ethereum. That's just stupid. Not going to do it. But then I decided, let me take a look at it. And when I did, and the first thing that bothered me was the learning curve, which is not that hard. It's not difficult. I made videos about it, but just getting your Ethereum over on Binance, particularly as an American citizen and stuff.
Right.
Once I started interacting with it, once I really got into yield farming and I saw what the craze was, I was like, wow. And it was so inexpensive. Some people are like, oh yeah, Binance Smart Chain is just going to become like Ethereum when it gets popular. That's just because they don't understand the fundamentals of the Binance Smart Chain. It's not. It would never be as bad. Yes, it would be worse. It already is worse. I mean, I think when I first got over there, it was literally like pennies to make a transaction. Now it's like, depending on your transaction, 10, 20, 30, 40 cents. But that still is pennies compared to Ethereum. And it will always, if Ethereum doesn't change, which they will, Binance, even if they have the exact amount of people using this same number of transactions, they'll be fractions cheaper, meaning, 25% to 30% probably cheaper. It will never be, because of the increased block sizes or the increased gas capacity of the blocks is the big deal. Here's another way of thinking about it. If you know what Bitcoin Cash is for Bitcoin, if you understand the differences in Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin, it's a perfect comparison. That's Binance Chain to Ethereum. And it just honestly works better. Now, I do think Binance Smart Chain is a bit of a fad. I do think that it's just going to be a complementary process, and it's a complementary endeavor for CZ. And I think that it may always exist, in some way, but it's just going to be, it's not going to be anything innovative. It's not going to be earth shattering. It's just going to be a complementary product. He's going to keep basically pulling off of Ethereum, make it, there's a trade-off. It's, yes, there's cheaper gas fees, but there's a reason that Vitalik and them don't want to just have larger gas blocks or more gas capacity on every block, for lack of a better term. There's a reason, because there's possible security issues. You can't just do that indefinitely, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, Vitalik could have done that yesterday, but once you do that, you can't go back to the smaller amount of gas per block. They're trying to figure out another way to do that without, sacrificing security. Ethereum's going to continue to innovate. Binance Smart Chain is not going anywhere, and I actually think it's going to get bigger. I am bullish on BNB, not financial advice, but I'm holding BNB. I think it's going to go to probably $1,000 per BNB, just because it's so usable. It's so usable. It's a fun playground to play in. You make transactions, you don't even think about it. You don't think about the cost. I'm over there reinvesting dividends that are $10, $15. Don't care that I'm reinvesting them. On Ethereum, I got several $100s on a farm I won't withdraw because it's going to cost me several $100s just to withdraw it. So that's just useless. I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean?
Right. So let me bring it back to you said the difference between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. For viewers like me who haven't really taken a look at Bitcoin Cash, because when we got in, we just had a narrow-eyed vision on Bitcoin. Can you explain the difference between like the block sizes that you're talking about? Is it because like Binance Smart Chain can support much more transactions than what Ethereum currently have?
Yeah, for cheaper. That's what a larger. I'm not going to use a technical term, right? And one of the streams of my channels, I know my weakness, and the technology is my weakness, and it takes me a lot of time to wrap my brain around it. In fact, I'm certain that I upset devs when I ask questions in Telegram, and I upset sponsors. The last sponsors I did for my channel, DeFireX, I drove them nuts because I kept asking so many questions about their project. I'm still asking them questions because I understand that once I understand it, then I can communicate it to a way that I could have understood it before if they would have known how to say that. That to say, I could mess this explanation up in some area, but the general premise is this, and I absolutely have researched this. The general premise is this: there's only so much data that can fit into a Bitcoin block, right?
Right.
And so all Bitcoin Cash did was increase the block size, and it decreases the transaction costs and it increases the speed of transaction. The challenge with that is you sacrifice some security at some point, and you run into the same issue eventually again. The Bitcoin core mindset, the original Bitcoin, the current what's known as original Bitcoin today, by most people, the number one Bitcoin on CoinMarketCap. People want to get offended. That group think was basically like, that's a short-term solution to a problem. We're not going to go that route. And are we going to just keep increasing the block size indefinitely? Roger Ver and them created Bitcoin Cash, and he felt like that was the most logical thing according to the original white paper of Satoshi. Now, this is really sad if you're new to cryptocurrency. Roger Ver was seen as a huge advocate for Bitcoin. The guy gave away, no telling how many Bitcoin. He used to call him Bitcoin Jesus because he would just give away Bitcoin. True story. He would just give away Bitcoin because he wanted people to use it. He was a huge advocate. He would talk about it all the time. It consumed his life. The guy's a multi-gazillionaire today because he probably still owns enormous bags of Bitcoin. I mean, he was owning Bitcoin when it was dollars. He had a real split, the Bitcoin core community over this, and his personality didn't help him any. And there's a famous meme online where he loses his marbles in a live stream like this, and he yells at a guy and that sort of thing, which is unfortunate. But because of the bad blood, I think people haven't adopted Bitcoin Cash, myself included. A buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, who I met through my channel, is the one he's very pro Bitcoin Cash. And I'm like, I don't get it. And he said something to me. He said, if Roger Ver wasn't behind Bitcoin Cash, knowing, what his public reputation has been, would you be more accepting of it? And I thought about that objectively, and I thought, you know what? You're probably right. And so the way Ethereum works is it's not data per block, it's gas limit per block, the amount of gas that can go into a given block. What Binance Smart Chain did was they increased that gas limit. I think they more than doubled. It's like 30,000 GUI or whatever that is, 30,000 something. Versus 16,000. I could pull up the chart for you so you can see it on Etherscan. But they basically increased that. So it's the same similar analogy, basically. And that's all they've really done. And it's pretty centralized right now. A lot of the servers and the whatnot, the server may be the wrong term, but everything, all the major nodes and everything are currently, my last understanding is they're all under Binance control. which I find to be risky for Binance. Technically, the government could shut down CZ at this very moment. It would be hard, and if he was a real cryptocurrency enthusiast. The problem with crypto is you don't know who the real people are and who the guys are in it just for the profit. Like, who are the guys who believe in this to the core? I can tell you one of them. And who are the guys who believe in it and they're here just to make a buck? And you don't know that. And if a guy's here just to make a buck, then he can get shut down easy. If he is here to the core and he's willing to take some risk, all he's got to do is hear about government coming in. He could quickly decentralize it, set up nodes, encourage people to set up nodes all over the place. Binance would be more decentralized.
That was one of the first things when I saw BNB just ramp up like crazy over several days. I was like, whoa, what the heck is going on? And then I looked at it and found that it was centralized. And anything centralized, I'm very hesitant when it comes to that because, when I first got into cryptos, it's like everything's decentralized. That's when I see that, and XRP, which is our favorite coin to talk about because of all the nonsense that's going on. What do you think about XRP actually? Since you covered that, and apparently the lawsuit is getting thrown out. Is that what I
No, it's
what I saw in?
well, I haven't read it today, but it's not getting thrown out. But their lawyer is a badass dude. Like, he's a good lawyer. Like, he is good. And Brad Garlinghouse, Brad Garlinghouse, I don't think he's a major, all about crypto. Okay, so I'll sum it up in 2 sentences. I hate XRP. I love their fight in the SEC with the SEC. And the only reason I hate it, people can't. One of the first videos I ever did that blew up on my channel was I basically talked. I forget what it was. It was XRP basically was going to dump or it was trash or whatever. And the XRP army came out in full force. It was mind blowing. I knew it was going to happen. Like, it's so kind of fun being a creator because you sort of can. I knew, like, the whole purpose I did that video was to piss off the XRP army. I was just hoping I would get their attention. I was hoping I was big enough to get their attention, and they didn't let me down. And it was awesome. And I had a lot of fun responding to the comments. But in all fairness, some of the people who responded with substance did enlighten me to XRP. It wasn't as fully centralized. There were some redeeming qualities. Let me put it that way. And I tried to be objective, look at it. There were some redeeming qualities. My number one issue with XRP, though, is it's ultimately trying to continue to support a system, albeit it may add some elements of decentralization or less centralization, but still ultimately it's supporting a legacy financial system that is against the average people. It's against people like us who just want to get ahead in life. And it's about keeping the powerful institutions continue to be powerful. And so I don't love that at all. And the only reason I hold XRP right now, honestly, because I got some for dividends through one of my investments. That's the truth. I've never actually paid for it. But the reason I won't sell it, because I used to sell it every time I got it. The reason I won't sell it is because I do think that stock price is going to go. In fact, if you want to talk about one that could 10x, it's going to be that one. That could 10x, which would get it back to $3.
Really?
Yeah, because I think it's only like 30 cents right now, and it's been as high. It's all-time high. I don't know what the all-time high was. Back a few years back, it's about $2 or $1.60 or something. If they beat this lawsuit, and basically it's going to be they made 2 or 3x between now and the end of the lawsuit. They've already went up a lot. But if they beat this lawsuit and it comes out publicly and it looks like they're going to beat this lawsuit bad. Like, the government, they got Keystone Cops over there for the lawyers on the government side. It is bad. And the reason I like this so much, people are like, screw XRP, yada, yada. And Richard Hart actually made a great point about this. He said so much in crypto, when it comes to creating decentralized projects, there's very few opportunity to earn profits. And when there's very few opportunities to earn profits, when you're talking about just being a blockchain developer on something like Bitcoin, that's not profitable. You're doing that as a service to humanity, basically. The challenge is there's no one at Bitcoin that could have took something like this on. I don't know that Vitalik would have wanted to take this on. And what a lot of people would have done is they would have just folded. They would have said, okay, fine. What regulations, what fine have we got to pay, and be done with it. Unfortunately, it's such a centralized project from their major corporate company, and they've got plans literally to take over the world as a company, at least in their capacity. They're highly profitable. These are very wealthy people in their own right. And for them to say, and I have watched this in the corporate space over and over again, very few times do you see a CEO stand up like this, willing to take on personal risk of their reputation, personal financial risk. And Brad Garlinghouse has done it. And as a CEO, not about the project, but as a CEO, the guy's earned my respect as a CEO running a company. And I'll pay attention to anything that he does in the future just to pay attention to it. But they're fighting it, and he hired good. I mean, listen, they're going to be proven right in this lawsuit, most likely, my prediction. But people have to understand that in America, it still takes a lot of money to get proven right. Our judicial system definitely favors those who can hire the talent of a lawyer, and he's done that. And I think it's good for crypto that these things get defined. I've been very skeptical of regulations. I'm optimistic about the regulations that are going to come forward just watching this lawsuit. And therefore, I root for them in the lawsuit. I don't personally care about their project. But I also don't have a problem with other people. Like, I don't have a problem with other people loving XRP. I get it. It takes all types here. But ultimately, I want a decentralized financial system where individuals have the most opportunities. And I don't think XRP supports that fundamentally. And I'm okay with that. And therefore, that's why I don't like it.
So when the SEC came out and started to sue XRP, a bunch of my mentors, they're exactly as we said, that you either love it or you hate it. And a bunch of them are like, we don't like XRP, so we're not going to buy it. But some who even hated it say it is insurance, it is a lottery ticket. You're either going to lose all your money or you're either going to make a lot of money. So we had mentors throwing in like 100 grand into XRP, trying to get it into Coinbase to buy up all the XRP supply when it was dropping. So there's a lot of bag holders out there if it goes wild. But
it
to
is.
add on to
You did see the last development, right? The last development, SEC said in the case, this lawsuit is not about any individual. So there's a bunch of I made a video about this yesterday. There's a bunch of class action lawsuits right now coming against Coinbase, for example, saying, "Oh, you sold me a unregistered security," which I think is so freaking stupid. But that's what they're saying, right? People who want decentralization are now going for a centralized money grab. The irony is not lost. The SEC basically came back and said this lawsuit only pertains Ripple and its associates or employees. So all of the exchanges, it specifically said, it is on the record, this has nothing to do with the exchanges or whatever. So there's already some exchanges talking about relisting it. And in fact, I wouldn't be shocked if some smaller exchanges already relisted it. Yeah, that is huge news.
Yeah. Because if it goes back into Coinbase, you could see Rice pump, like you said earlier. And oh man, I did not know about that. Thanks for sharing. But yeah, I see that there is also XRP and there's also Stellar XLM, which is kind of like the founder of XLM worked as the founder of XRP, if I remember correctly. So they both do the same thing. And I haven't seen the recent performance of XLM, but I don't think it's been performing like all the other coins that have been going haywire. The whole idea is just to make it cheaper for people to transact, for the immigrant family to send money back to the Philippines or something. So that's the entire idea. I really fully support that idea because making wire transfers to another country, because I still wire money back to my parents to support them in Canada, costs a lot of money. So if something like that comes through, then that'll be amazing. But there are still a lot of other projects that are able to do that. I mean, even we won't be here, but when Bitcoin gets mined out by 2140 and price stabilizes, then it could be used to transact because it won't be as volatile as now with the Bitcoin price changing every minute for a couple $100. If you trade that stuff, which I did, it drives you crazy because you're always looking at the price.
Yeah. But you want to make money in crypto, don't be a trader. That's not popular, but that's the truth. If we were suddenly overnight, Bitcoin was a Bitcoin and there was no US dollar, it would not feel that volatile and it probably would be almost instantly stabilized. If you've ever traded Forex, and I have, then it's also equally volatile. And well, I shouldn't say equally. It's also highly volatile. You don't realize the dollar moves up and down so much against other currencies because you never have been in that world until you attempt to trade Forex. And you're like, wow, it moves up and down like this. And you don't, listen, so I do business with Canada. Years ago, I can remember I pay attention to the Canadian dollar peg, like peg's the wrong word, but relationship, I guess. It's amazing over the years how much it keeps changing. I mean, there was a time when we were a lot closer to the Canadian dollar. And it, of course, varies a little bit, but the trend has gotten farther and further away. And and as an American, you don't notice it as much when you only deal in US dollar. Yeah. I think that people don't understand that it wouldn't feel as volatile and it would probably end as volatility because so many people would be using it. It is expensive to transact in, but it's not going to matter if you needed it bad enough. You know, people buy gold and they think that it's not expensive to transact in. I don't know. How much time have you spent sawing and smelting gold to try to get the amount that you need to make a transaction? Like, so there's plenty of expense. All right, I got a question for you. What is biggest gainer since you've been in crypto, or the biggest thing? It could be a project. It doesn't have to be a particular currency. It could be project associated to a currency.
So I think it is between ADA and Polkadot because I got in ADA when it was like 20 cents and I got into Polkadot when it was $2. So I've been making some mega gains off those. Um, but in addition, I don't know. I have to look at my portfolio. I've also gotten Bitcoin when it was around $15,000. So that was a nice rise as well. But how about you?
For me, it's been projects more than anything. I mean, granted, I've rode Bitcoin up. I don't pay attention to that as much. Like my cold wallet, I don't really pay attention to it, honestly. It's a one-way transaction and I don't watch it a lot. I know it's over there, but so it's been projects. It's been this year really have done amazing. The gas token projects on Ethereum did phenomenal for me. Holy crap. The B dollar type basis style contracts I've been making videos about, those did really, really well. Although it's interesting, those may be done right now, but they did really, really well. I mean, several hundred X. Also, I did really good on freaking the auto token when the auto platform when it came out, yield farming that. That's the thing that almost got me hooked on yield farming. I did so well yield farming that thing. Holy crap. And it's just because the token kept going up in value. I got in early and it kept going up in value. I think at one point the token topped out like 15 grand and I was getting in at 2,500 and 5,000. So yeah, those sort of projects as of late have done really well.
I wanted to segment since you mentioned it, actually even before you mentioned how you got into yield farming, because I've been looking into that. Actually, my next video is going to be about yield farming, but I want to know how you got into it and how you find opportunities, because for me, it's still very complex, you know, going to like Aave and borrowing collateral and then using what you loaned out to invest more. It all seems very complicated to me. So can you provide like a easy explanation for new viewers and newbies like me?
Yeah, I have a video on my channel actually that shows you the basics. I actually walked through showing you the basics of how to yield farm on the Binance Smart Chain. Then if I remember, I'll put it in the description of this video. But even though I show it on the Binance Smart Chain, it can work with anything. And now here's a couple of questions. Okay. Most people who are yield farming, they're trying to look for crazy gains and they don't understand impermanent loss. And if you're trying to get these crazy gains that are 1,000%, and I made videos about it because people want to see it, they want to hear about it. You know, you get the content. My favorite yield farm, I hardly talk about on the channel because it only makes me like 60% a year. So that's not high enough for the viewers on the channel that, really want to make these crazy gains. But the truth is, I see people go in, they go in with like 2,000%, and then the next day they want to figure out why they done calculated 2,000% over 365, and they're trying to figure out how come I didn't make that percentage yesterday, and they just don't understand nothing about the mechanics. Primarily, how it's not a lateral yield, first of all, because you still got token prices in there, and you got impermanent loss, and impermanent loss is going to screw you every time. Unless you hold it long term to equal out the ups and downs of the token, and you're in a project where the token price does go up and down, and you're not in a See, a lot of times when you see crazy, like I got a video where I did 100,000% on BDO when it first came out, yield farming it, or 200,000%. But what people don't understand is part of the risk is one of those tokens is expected to collapse, and there's no way to escape the impermanent loss when it collapses. The only way is to get in early, be one of the first ones, make some profit, which you might make 30, 40, 50%, 100%, 200% if you're lucky on your investment, not 2,000%. That's never going to happen. And you got to make it early on, and then you got to get out. And literally, part of the way you make it is because everybody hypes. This is the truth of high APY yield farming. Part of the way that you make it is you get in early while everybody else is still trying to get in because they have to buy that token to get in. So
Right.
that token price is going up and you're making money. That's not really truly yield farming. Yield farming is when you make money by being a liquidity provider. You are making money on the fees over time, which is true decentralization, which is my favorite thing about it. And you can farm a token when something like Uniswap, a good project, is willing to allow distribution of their token as opposed to doing like an airdrop. So you get additional incentive early on to add liquidity to a liquidity pool. And so you're making money two ways. You're making money off of your fees, which realistically can be 5 to 25% in a year. That's kind of a big deal in the world of earning return in a decentralized way. And you throw some tokenomics on that where they're, allowing you to farm the token, then, you can make another 10, 20, 30, 40% on top of that in a good, possibly stable token with some long-term potential. Now you're talking about something that could be magical. So as far as how do you find out about them, the same way you find content for your channel. You're out there. Your subscribers on your channel can bring it to you sometimes. Subscribers on my course bring it to me. I get emailed stuff. I'm in other telegrams and someone reaches out to me and tells me about something. Now, 50% of the time it's just garbage, somebody trying to pump a bag or whatever, and it's annoying. It's the truth. But sometimes it's like something legit, and you start creating kind of a network of people that you trust. It's like, hey, have you checked this out? Hey, have you seen this? And you know that they're not just trying to pump it back. Like they've shared something with you before, you've shared something with them, and you kind of create that connection. And I've probably got 3 or 4 people like that. And then there's, anyone from YouTubers that you follow that tends to get into projects you tend to like, stuff like that. So it's really, there's no one area that you find out about this stuff. But to be very honest with you, I'll say the same thing I said about day trading. High yield, greater than, you're looking for multiple 100% a year plus. Most people are never going to make money with that. You're going to get wrecked. They don't understand it and they're jumping in. Listen, it's this bad. One of the projects I got in, I go into the Telegram. This guy's asking, in fact, there was 2 of them back to back asking the same thing. They want to know why they didn't make X% a year or X% a day because it's so much percent a year. How come I didn't get that yesterday? And I messaged him directly and I said, dude, it's because of impermanent loss. And he's like, yeah, what does that mean? So I sent him my video on how to yield farm. Both of them had the exact same response. You'd have thought I was talking to a bot. They were like, oh, I don't need to watch that. I already know how to yield farm. No, you don't if you don't know what freaking impermanent loss is. You're the fish at the table while the whales are eating you and you don't even know it. So it's amazing how many people like are jumping in stuff and then have legitimate questions about it and they don't realize it's just a basic tokenomic that you're not understanding that's important to understand. As far as how do you find it, you just network, you just hear about it. The grapevine gets big the more you stay in the space. But the advantage of being content creators, see, this is what people don't understand. A lot of times people think content creators got the inside loop. And it's not like you've got developers reaching out to you unless they want to advertise on your channel. But you get more garbage that way than good projects. That's the truth. And the good projects that want to advertise are well established. Like I just had my biggest sponsorship request probably was I turned down. I'm not going to do it. But they just reached out to me. That's a pretty big name out there. They're already well established. That's not a secret, right? You're not learning anything from that. I get all these yield farm startups daily who are like, hey, we're gonna launch a yield farm. We want you to promote us on our channel. We'll pay you, yada yada yada. No, thank you. Last thing we need is another high risk yield farm out there. So I don't really. That's not the key. But as a content creator, you're constantly researching, you're constantly reading, and therefore you're gonna constantly be coming across new stuff, new information. And since right now you're asking me questions about yield farming because you're not here yet. But and I wasn't either in Ethereum because I thought it was too expensive. But once you get here, once you really start looking at it, you start coming across it again and again. And at some point, you're like, okay.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. As creators, what I found is that a lot of my most recent videos, they're all recommendations passed on word of mouth by my viewers. They're like, oh, do you mind checking out Reef Finance? Do you mind checking out Holochain? I'm like, what the heck is that? So I go check them out. I'm like, okay, these are some pretty cool projects that I knew nothing about. So yeah, I kind of want to move the topic. I think we're at 11. We're almost at time, but I want to get your opinion. What do you see between what's happening now with our current economic situation and what happened in the 08-09 financial crisis? Is it the same or is it very different? Are we playing a very dangerous game right now?
There's similar elements, but I hate to say this because I know people don't like the negativity aspect of it, but this is what got me to crypto. And unfortunately, this is probably if there's not negative government regulations coming, and shockingly, it doesn't look like there are yet. It looks like the government is still, I think they're playing a funny game. Jay Powell just said that there was no need to rush to central bank digital dollar. He said that basically there's no need to rush to that. I think that's playing coy. I think there's already a blockchain. I think there's already a possible white paper released. I think they're playing coy with that 100%. And I think they are racing like hell to beat Russia and China, or to at least be competitive with them. So with that being said, it's very different from the 07, 08. 07 and 08, for the most part, the bubble was sort of contained in the financial markets. I was probably, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I might have been your age in 07 and 08. So, or maybe a little bit older. But you're Asian, you guys don't ever age. So the you might be
In the legend.
you might be older than me. I don't even know it. So the thing is, it was contained to the real estate and somewhat the financial sector and certain parts of the financial sector. Now, part of the reason it was contained is because they did crazy quantitative easing, etc. The problem here is we have a far larger systemic bubble that is developing that people don't realize. So let me give you an example. Got a neighbor who's building a garage. OSB's up, meaning like the board. OSB's up like 300%. Most people think this is just because the economic cost of getting it from China, but it's not. It's what you said earlier about food costs going up in Canada. The same thing's happening here, but people don't realize it right now. This is systemic. I got another friend of mine who owns a furniture store. He was just telling me that his furniture, one of his bed units that was a big moneymaker for him just a year and a half ago, what he sold that thing for retail, his wholesale cost is about $50 below it now. He used to make $300 or $400 on that bed. And he's like, now I had to raise the price $200 or $300. He goes, it's unreal. He goes, a year ago, 2 years ago, nobody would have bought this from me for that price, but I'm selling them right now. And we're already starting to see, and I'm not trying to say none of it's not, but I'm not trying to say these prices increases aren't because of the international stuff, and life will get back to normal to some degree as we move on past this, demic. But at the same time, there's no way inflation is not happening. And there's no way that, if you're looking, like we just talked about, coming across projects, if you're aware of this stuff, then you can find the news headlines that you're like, wow, okay, wow. A lot of people have known that our stock market's been in a bubble. It's in an enormous bubble.
Oh, yeah. Crazy.
It's enormous. It's ungodly. I know I got a guy who's lost a lot of money because he's been shorting the stock market. And unfortunately, it's that whole thing about, the markets can be irrational longer than you can be solvent or whatever. And it's, and he's talking to me, he's telling me all the metrics he's looking at, and the metrics are just getting worse. Like some of these numbers these ratios and stuff that he follows, they've never been this out of whack ever. And he's been following the markets for 30 something years. And it's just crazy to think about. Understand, we had in this country alone, we had an enormous double-digit unemployment due to government shutdowns. And the same month, the S&P 500 is seeing newer highs. How is that possible? It's not possible on a production level. To answer your question, I see it as much more systemic, potentially much worse. Now, with that being said, I do think when we see a downturn, it's going to crash the crypto market. You'll know that we hit mass adoption, or at least that we're well on our way, when we see the next financial crash and crypto goes up, like a major crash and people flock to crypto. But I think there's a lot of people in crypto right now because they find it interesting, but they also have the cash. When you see people start selling their cryptocurrencies, this is what's going to happen. They're going to start selling their cryptocurrencies to pay bills, pay back loans, pay back debts, and therefore we could potentially see a major market crash. I do believe I always invest expecting the worst. That keeps me diversified. It keeps me rational about the market. I don't get over twisted. When people say, a buddy of mine says, hey, I bought some crypto. You think the market's going up? And I said, it could go down. He goes, oh, you think it's going down? I said, or it could go up. Like, I literally invest, like that's I said this a few days ago on my channel. Me and my wife talk early on when it comes to investing in crypto. My wife, I got an amazing wife, man. She trusts me with everything. You married?
No, I am not married.
If you get married, you need to marry someone like my wife because she's awesome. She trusts me 100% with our investments, all of them. And I've made losses. My biggest losses actually have been in crypto. My biggest single losses have been in crypto. One of the things that she learned early on when we started talking about me investing in crypto, I said, listen, when I pull this money out, it needs to be an expense. Don't ever expect to see it again. And she literally doesn't know what I have in crypto. She does know how to access my wallets, but she doesn't pay attention or know what I have in crypto. And anytime she asks me, I'll just say, consider it's not there. Or I'll say, hey, we've been doing pretty good. Or we've been doing. And the reason is because I truly believe we could understand, Bitcoin was at $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a few months back. That was not that long ago. What goes up fast can come down fast. Do I think we'll ever see $5,000 Bitcoin again? Yep, I do.
So
I know so. You just said no because you haven't been through the other crash. When we were sitting at 20 grand, guy said we'd never sink below 10,000 again. And we
oh,
did.
I hope so.
And we did. But you got to okay, so you just said I hope so. See, the key to that is having the right mentality of holding on to that. When you're buying in, you can't be buying in thinking, "Oh man, this is going to go to 500,000." This is going to, That's why I have a cold wallet. I consistently throw stuff to the cold wallet and I don't ever look at it. It's a one-way transaction. I've never withdrawn from it. I've never withdrawn from it, and I never choose to. And if it goes to effing zero, it goes to zero, which is not going to do. But if it doesn't hit mass adoption in my lifetime, my kids will know how to access it. So that way, I don't get emotional about it. I don't watch those dollar amounts. I don't want to see a fiat amount in a exchange. I just want to know that I keep adding to that stack, and I will sell that stack if it ever looks like something's going to surpass Bitcoin. If it not like Ethereum, meaning something else that serves a currency use case. So if something was to surpass, say Bitcoin Cash was to surpass current Bitcoin, then at the moment that they get ready to surpass each other, I would swap. I'm going to own the digital asset that is going to be a currency because I believe in my heart of hearts, at some point down the road, at some unpredetermined time, we will get to a place. I pray for humanity's sake that we have a decentralized currency as a worldwide currency. And so I'm going to be a part of that because I believe that's going to happen. So
You guys heard it. Make sure to like, subscribe if you're enjoying this content because I'm gonna take a turn and add on to that because I fully agree with you in that I do see a decentralized currency, a reserve currency. That's how I see it. Because when we're talking about stocks, we're buying shares into a company. And what do they transact with? Most of the companies are still afraid of cryptocurrencies, afraid of Bitcoin. They're still transacting in cash. And as we know, cash is trash. So what I see, that's the same with real estate. They're still transacting with cash. So when the bubble pops, like you said, it's going to all fall over into cryptos. And like you said, people are going to be selling their crypto assets in order to pay bills. And that's when I see that, okay, this is my way to get a monopoly on an asset, a crypto asset, let's say like DOT or ADA at a cheap price. So that's how I'm going about playing the game. Coming around to the story of 0809, the financial crisis. So what happened was that back then, because of the quantitative easing that the US did, that actually caused a domino effect. And that affected many other countries, one of them being Greece and Cyprus. Cyprus, what they did is that, the banks froze, people cannot get out their money. And what the financial leaders over there, the players did, is that they told the citizens who had nothing to do with the banks over leveraging and had nothing to do with the financial crisis. They said, okay, we need you citizens to bail us out of the problem and the mess that we made. So we're going to tax everybody with less than $100,000 euro, like a 6.25%, and everybody with more than 100,000 with a 10% tax. So they literally took money out of the citizens' bank account to bail themselves out. And I'm going to follow up with this. So stick around because after that happened, what passed in Congress was we had the Dodd-Frank Act, the Wall Street Reform Consumer Act. What that basically allows our banks to do, the US banks to do, is they allow them to take money out of your account and my account, if we have money in a US bank account, to restructure themselves. And when I read that, I was like, holy crap, that is freaking dangerous. So that's why my bank right now has just the amount of money that I need in order to live. Otherwise, everything is invested in cryptos and assets. And that's what the wealthy are doing now that the poor isn't. So that's why this wealth gap is just going to get bigger and bigger.
Well, the wealth gap is going to get bigger and bigger. And so I did a video a while back about the US digital currency. So it's funny that you say that. I didn't actually know the part. What I know about Greece is interesting is I know that it was a society conditioned to live off of government handouts, meaning their retirement age was something stupid young, like 55 or whatever. And they got away with that for a while. And as a society, they were conditioned. If you read articles from Greece that were translated to English like I did, people were complaining. They could not believe that the government was going to want them to work till 57. I mean, because they were conditioned, like this is like what's acceptable. It's no different than if someone's overpaid on a job and they don't realize if they go get another job, no one's going to pay you that wage. But they're conditioned to believe that they're worth that wage because they don't realize they're getting overpaid. That's kind of how the citizens were. But here's another thing that was crazy about Greece. Greece was in eighth. Their debt was nothing as a country compared to the US debt on a like per capita basis, compared to their GDP. Their GDP wasn't crazy out of whack or nothing. They could not sustain their debt because they couldn't print their way out. And people don't understand that. America, because we have the world reserve currency, we can print our way out of debt for a long time. And that's
Mhm.
and Greece didn't have that. We would have been a Greece a long time ago already if we couldn't print more money. And people don't
Absolutely.
understand, like I heard somebody say the other day, and I thought that's just an issue. She was like, I don't understand why any of us have to work. Why can't the government just keep printing money? And it's like, oh my gosh, you know. But the thing is, when that sounds like common sense to you and I, the vast majority of the people, and maybe the vast majority watching this video, may not understand that. And that's what's scary because as a society, we can't move. We all are going to hurt a lot more till more people understand that. That's the bottom line. We're going to go through a lot more pain, a lot more growing pains because we have to grow as a society. Talking about the Dodd-Frank Act pulling money out, that's the whole thing with centralized digital currency. So to combat inflation, and I have tried to find this. I saw a podcast, a YouTube podcast. So the guy showed a video, and when he was not a video, a chart. I cannot find that chart. I have looked for it, and I can't even remember who was the podcaster was now because I wanted to go back and relook at it. But he basically talked about the percentage of tax that the American governments collect. And I did not know this. The governments are actually really bad, as in America in general. Our government's actually not really good at collecting taxes.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
it's a low percentage, like only 20 or 30% or 40%. I forget the number is the most they get of tax revenues owed to them. The reason this is a big deal is because that percentage stays the same no matter how high the tax rate is. And by the way, people want to say it's just the rich, of course, but the rich can take plenty of legal loopholes. It's really the guy who's saying he's got 3 dependents when he's got 2. There's that happens systemically throughout our entire country. At some point, people are going to find a way not to pay their taxes, no matter how high you put those taxes. With that being said, taxation is the only way to control. It's the best way to control high inflation. You can raise interest rates. It's less predictable, the effects of that. Taxation is another way to basically levy a tax on everyone or the entire system. And it's all about pulling money out of the system, essentially burning tokens in the crypto world. That's the idea behind it, is you got to pull money out of the system to control inflation. Or what it's doing is decreasing the circulating supply and adding it back to the developers fund, a lack of, just another way of thinking about it. The problem though is you can't increase taxes to a point because you can't collect on them unless you have a central bank digital dollar. Have you done your crypto taxes yet? Just a yes or no, no explanation is needed.
I have not,
Okay,
but I have not sold in crypto. So according to what I've read so far for Americans doing their taxes, if you haven't sold any, then it doesn't apply.
that's not correct. Any transaction you
Uh,
make from one crypto to another, every single transaction is a taxable event. Every single transaction is a taxable event.
all
So
right, then my tax account.
no, that's not. That's why I just said say yes or no. So the every transaction is taxable. Every trade, every transaction from Cardano to Bitcoin and back, all that's taxable. And it used to be incredibly complicated. Now you can use something like Coinly. I did a video on Coinly. They are awesome. And if you want a great affiliate product to talk about, that's a good one, by the way. You make a little tiny affiliate commission on your channel. Go sign up for their affiliate program. Put the link underneath this video when it goes up because people need to check it out. And there's 2 reasons. One, it makes your taxes easy in minutes, like minutes. You can see every transaction that you've done, profit and loss. It's super easy. But it's also when there's a central bank, the thing that it gave me, as soon as I saw that, I was like, wow. Because I immediately realized, so with the central bank digital dollar, they could literally do an entire country's taxes within minutes to hours, maybe a day or two, and understand what the tax revenues were owed. And if you understand rebasing coin, that means that it could be possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could be possible with a centralized digital currency that they're going to make it really easy for you to do your taxes. You don't even got to do them. They'll just take them out of your account. And that's possible with the central bank digital currency. They can literally decrease the supply. Now, they're probably not going to say, oh, we're going to cut 1% out of everybody's account. They're probably not going to do that. They'll take it out of taxes. And they can easily do that with a central bank digital currency. You no longer have to report your taxes. They can do it on their end. and then they can withdraw them if they choose to. Like in a worst case scenario, that's absolutely possible. That technology is already in place. We already see it with rebasing tokens. That sort of thing is already possible.
Hold on. Does that mean that if they do that, is there a need for a tax accountant anymore, or is that job completely wiped out?
So, well, this is totally conjecture. We're speculating here, and this is a worst case scenario. I actually think the way that it would occur is they would still have you do your taxes. It would become very easy to do. And then if you get audited, they would very simply do an audit on your account the same way you do your Coinly taxes. So I still think they would have you file your taxes. Just the audit mechanism would be very, very easy. And we may get to the point eventually where they're like, this is simpler. You don't need to, you can do your own taxes and just submit it. But if they find you, listen, people already get their accounts. And I've never been someone, listen, I've not always had any financial means in my life. Growing up, we were really, really poor. There was a whole bunch of us living in a 2-bedroom trailer. It was a big deal. I slept by a kerosene heater for much of my life. That's how I grew up. And what I have today, I've worked hard and I've lived relatively frugal for it. I mean, I still drive a 1998 Honda Civic to this day that the headliner's coming out. My son thinks I need to buy another one, and I'm not going to because it's still running. It's got a crappy paint job. That's just how I've chosen to live my life to get to where I've gotten, and I've been blessed in a lot of ways. However, all that being said, they have the ability, they're going to have the ability, should they choose, to be able to pull money out of our accounts. I know what I was going to say. I've never had to worry about having my wages garnished. I remember first year in business that I had a successful, financial year. I was in my early 20s, and I had this crazy tax bill that freaked me out. It was more money than I'd made the previous year working a job, and it just freaked me
Right.
out, and I didn't have money for it. And I remember how much of a struggle it was to pay that tax bill. I know people who have not paid tax bills. I know people who have had wages garnished, and they just pull that money out of your account. If they're willing to pull that money out of your account already in a fiat centralized account, why would they suddenly stop when it becomes easier in a centralized blockchain to pull money out of your accounts? So I think we'll see it happening a lot more often for a lot lighter reasons. And the government's going to track what we're doing, how we're doing it, where we're doing it. By the way, let's totally shift topics real quick. I just thought about this when I was talking about this topic because there's another YouTuber that I think is underrated, highly underrated. She's extraordinary. But I want to ask you, I want to start with you. Who's your favorite YouTuber you think is maybe underrated, or maybe they're popular, but just you feel like a lot more people should know about them?
Specifically in crypto?
Crypto Wealth. I got it. Next.
Well, crypto wealth, there is Sheldon Evans. I think he does some great job with explaining cryptos really well, but he has like 500,000 subscribers. So
Wow.
he's popular.
Um,
Yeah.
for me, it's Naomi Brockwell. Naomi Brockwell is extraordinary. She puts out these video clips that are typically 10, 12 minutes, 8 minutes in some cases. Very well done. And I kept trying to figure out, this girl's a natural. So I did some research on her. Well, she used to work at like she's been in the actual news organizations before. But this is like her own channel, and she's a hardcore crypto girl. And she's very big on privacy. She's very big on like some of the economic factors. When she puts up a video, I have the bell notification icon, and she's one of the few people I will stop what the hell I'm doing to watch what she's got to say, because it ain't gonna take long, and she's good. Her channel, I mean, I think she's at 80,000 subscribers. That girl should be sitting at 8 million subscribers. She's
Yeah.
really probably the most underrated YouTuber that we have. Period.
What was it? Naomi Blackwell?
It's Brockwell, I think. Brockwell. She's
Yeah.
British, or at least she has a British accent. I think she's in America, but she has a British accent, and she's got like red hair, glasses. Uh, she looks like the stereotypical like bookworm, but she's
Okay.
freaking brilliant when she talks, and she knows what she's talking about. And her videos are just done so well. I can't imagine the amount of effort that goes into her videos. They're researched well, everything's good, they're concise, and it just creates awareness. Like, more people need to know about that chick's channel for sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Thanks for the drop.
All right, let's wrap it up. I'll give you the last question. I may do a follow-up.
Go for it.
Okay. So what is do you have a favorite or like a pet project in crypto? Maybe it's just something you like. Maybe it's a
I
project
do.
you like. Maybe it's not about being a big gainer. Whatever. It's just like a pet project. Like, you would like to see it do well, or you like something about it. What would it be?
Like me writing my own project
No, no,
or
no, no.
any.
In general, pet project that you have that you like. Or it could be, if you're writing your own project, it could be something that you want to see that's not out there. So what would be like your pet project? Like, I got a couple of okay, so let me explain mine. There's two pet projects I have. One is online gaming. Love it. I invest in them. Think it's phenomenal. I think it's very much an underrated investment in this space. But one of the things I like about it is I ultimately want to see it done more on chain. Those platforms went on chain. Customers practically demanded they go off chain, which is unfortunate. So now they're basically centralized casinos where you can use a bunch of or centralized gaming platforms, as I like to say on YouTube, where you can use a bunch of different cryptocurrencies. They only take cryptocurrencies, etc. And you can mine tokens and you can earn dividend off their tokens. I think that's very neat. But the reason I like it is because ultimately something like that becoming decentralized in the entertainment space is similar to having decentralized exchanges, for the rest of crypto. So I love the fact that there's a way to potentially escape government regulations if they can ever create one, and we're a long ways from this, that's fully decentralized in every capacity. I think that would be so freaking cool just from a sheer human freedom standpoint. So that's one project that I would like to see ultimately, and we're a long ways from that. The other one is decentralized internet from the user side. Ethereum talks about having a decentralized internet. MadeSafe Coin was talking about it, Substrate, which ended up being a scam. Their whole idea behind was us being able to get on the internet now and use it now, some form of a browser now, but it being totally decentralized. China couldn't shut it down from their citizens, type of thing, without shutting down the electrical grid. Those projects are under development. We're still a long ways out, but those are two projects that I would just like to see get fleshed out a lot further.
So I think with what you said about the decentralized internet that's actually happening with Holochain, which I covered, it was something interesting that one of my subscribers brought up. And basically what they're doing is they're trying to make it so that any user of Holochain, whether it's an app or a user of a decentralized app, they actually, if they use that app, they become a host for that app. So in that sense, that will completely wipe out the need for Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud who are hosting our current sites. Because if you look at Parler, what happened is they let Donald Trump go wild and then AWS decided to shut them down and they're out, right? So that would be a really cool thing to see. Also, my other one would be Energy Web Token because of what we see with the inefficiencies of energy and EWT allowing people like you and I to actually sell our energy to the grid. That is something really amazing that I would like to see happen, but they're both really, really early in terms of what they're trying to accomplish in their vision. For myself, what I'm trying to do right now, I'm actually doing a little bit of learning on Solidity for Ethereum, trying to so I run a little bit of a context. I run a e-commerce Walmart store on the back end, aside from making YouTube videos. So what I do is I drop ship. So I get a lot of points from doing drop shipping. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just make a platform for people to sell their points for, like if you want a flight for Delta from Chicago to New York or something, then you could probably get one cheaper if you buy it through points with us because we have we have so many points that we're willing to cut you a deal if you would want to use the system to buy a flight for a cheaper price. So that's kind of like what I have as a side project right now. So we'll see where that goes.
Well, that's a little bit interesting. So I want to get back to Holochain. That I need to look at Holochain. It's one of those I haven't put enough into. But so I'll give a shout out for Odyssey. We were talking about Odyssey before we were recording. So that's exactly how Odyssey works from video hosting. It's literally like BitTorrents. So now you are a possible seed for someone to be able to view that or watch that. And it works really, really well. And the whole thing that I like about it is what you said about Donald Trump. Love him or hate him, people were like, oh, Twitter's a private company. They should be able to do that. I don't disagree with that. I just think it's a shame that we don't have a decentralized space where anyone, like I'm one of those people, like anyone, look, you can be a moron. You can be an outright flaming racist if you want to. That's your prerogative. Leave me alone. And, you can obviously have the social repercussions of that. I don't like the idea of businesses trying to tell people you can't talk about. I mean, people don't understand, even on YouTube, we may get to a place that you can't talk about cryptocurrencies on YouTube. Like that could happen one day. It already has been a little bit sketchy at times. So that sort of stuff could happen. And that's the thing that, political dissent. China can't have political dissent on any platform. That's why they have the Great Firewall thing. So I love the idea of, and Odyssey is just a video platform. When you talk about Holochain, now you're talking about the real, like the whole full internet. That starts getting very fascinating. But I wonder if
Oh,
people are
it's
ready for that though, because I just offended some people when I talked about you can be a racist bigot in your own world, and I personally don't have a problem with that. I just offended people when I said that. But the reality is, when you go to something that's fully decentralized, you're going to have that up there and you can't take it down. Like it's there. So I wonder if we as a society are okay with that. That's what's going to be interesting.
yeah. My biggest worry about that is the censorship. You know, like you don't want any like 18 plus stuff all over the internet. Well, it's already all over the internet, but with much more ease of access for children. I mean, for the development of not only children but people, adults. It's bad thing. So that's what I think about that. So am I ready for that? I am not ready for that. But the idea of having a decentralized internet for me, that gets me excited.
Yeah, I think the pros outweigh the cons, but I think the pros outweigh the cons. I mean, listen, I have kids. Like if you if you wanted to try to keep them away from pornography and they were dead set on getting there, they can get there today easier than ever. So, but however, that's part of responsible parenting and etc. However, I will say that there are some serious cons. Even Odyssey right now on their main website, like their CEO has talked about how on their main website you cannot um like there's no adult content up there. They do monitor like when you log into your Odyssey account what you see up there. Now, if you have a link to any content and you can go directly to library lbry.tv and you can access all the mature content you want, et cetera, because it's up there. But you're not going to be able to get it on Odyssey. It's not going to be accessible through there because it is still centralized. They still have government laws they have to abide by, et cetera. But in a decentralized world, the question is, what say does a government have? What would that look like? It's interesting to ponder, but it starts getting philosophical at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I will wrap up with this. Ladies and gentlemen, please go check out Donald's channel. We've had a great discussion, and maybe we'll do this at some point again in the future. But go over there, smash the subscribe button. This guy's going to blow past me. He'll have 100,000 subscribers before you know it. Go over there, smash the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon, click all, smash the like. He may put this video up on his channel. Then go like his video as well. We appreciate you. And if you like seeing collabs like this on either one of our channels, just let us know in the comments. Is there something you disagree with? Or you take issue with, let us hear about it in the comments. Air your grievances. Just look out for the Donald Lee Crypto Wealth bots in the description trying to get you to message them on Telegram. Those aren't real. We don't do that. So just be
Just
mindful.
appear out of nowhere.
What's that?
You just appear out of nowhere.
Oh,
But they help the algorithm. I'm like, oh, you're good.
oh, they're parasites. You know what?
Yeah.
And I keep them off because I think it's bad for my viewers. I think it's a bad experience for my viewers who want to comment. I want to see Discord, and I respond to almost every comment in my comments. I have from the beginning, and there will come a point where I can't. So I see all those, and I just think it's a horrible experience for our audience, and I don't want them to have to deal with that. So I try to prevent it. But hey, I want to thank you so much for making time out of your day to do this, and this has been awesome. It's been a lot of fun just to talk crypto stuff.
Absolutely. Appreciate you hosting and inviting me to this interview, bro. Please be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to Crypto Wealth's channel because you'll get a lot out of that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Take care.